This is my vlog. It's about my life and challenging the stories that we're given about what is going on in our world. Investigative, thoughtful, fun.
This good. This one is good. This one is good.
Back to acrylamide and the browning of our food. This one interested me because we've got a government department putting out a health warning and then an article introducing balance which almost waters down the original health warning. So if we start with the Food Standards Agency, they've obviously got the budget to put out a public warning. Cynics could say that they're just justifying their own existence and spending their budget, but I wanted to look a bit more deeply on this. So after the initial warning, the article presents balance by introducing David Spiegelhalter, and sorry if I've got your name pronounced wrong, I have tried to look it up. He's a professor for the public understanding of risk at Cambridge University. He confirms that acrylamide is a nasty substance and amongst other things it's used as an industrial sealant. But he takes the argument that's put forward by the FSA and puts it into perspective, and he goes on to talk about interference from the nanny state, and people could view this kind of warning in that manner. He's actually a very interesting guy. Here's his vlog, and I'd recommend reading some more of his articles. So after taking a view of the public understanding of risk, the article goes on to quote cancer research, who say what other things we could be looking at that are cancer risks. And in my view, muddies the whole water of the article. What the article doesn't do is go on to say what should be the next steps. Should we be doing more research into acrylamide? What would the next steps involved in that be? And will more investigation into acrylamide be acceptable? And when you think about it and look at the industries involved, further research into acrylamide might not be acceptable. Why is that? Well, if you look at the list of things that acrylamide can be found in, bread, biscuits, coffee, crackers, etc., 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 there could be immense lobbying power and risk to industry if acrylamide was deemed as high cancer risk to humans. If you imagine, things like bread and cereals as staple parts of many people's diets, massive change would actually be required to take it out of people's diets or make necessary alterations. I mentioned earlier on that coffee particularly stuck out to me, so I've done a bit more digging into that to understand the impact on that specific industry. Quoting an internet source, after crude oil, coffee is the most sought-after commodity in the world. According to Business Insider back in 2011, coffee was a $20 billion export industry. And in financial year 2015-16, 155.7 million 60-kilogram bags of coffee were consumed worldwide. If you do the maths, then it's about $30 billion of coffee. And if you multiply it up, that could be hundreds of billions of dollars of revenues generated from that coffee. So digging into coffee a little bit more, back in the 90s the World Health Organization classified coffee as possibly carcinogenic, and they gave it a 2B classification. And with regards to cancer, in June 2016 the World Health Organization reclassified coffee to level 3, which means that it cannot be classified. It's also been pointed out at the same time that tea is okay to consume because of the way it's processed. A few more facts on the coffee industry before I sum up. Fair trade dealing in coffee has only accounted for a small proportion of the market apparently, and 37 of 50 countries with the highest deforestation rates in 1990 to 1995 were coffee producers. So where does all this leave us back with acrylamide? If we take coffee as an example of other industries, we have to ask ourselves, would industry allow research into acrylamide? Would they lobby against research into acrylamide? And would they lobby against the results of any research? And if more results were to come out of investigation into acrylamide, would industry fight those results? So to sum up, we've got a link between acrylamide and cancer in animals. Do we need to do more research? Do we need to understand more about acrylamide's impact on humans? Are things that we're consuming killing us? Is coffee killing us? You decide.
Goodbye.